There we go. All right. Today we are going to go over math and bash, functions, and the Jupyter Notebook. And we will be creating a script, hopefully, that works by the time we get to the end of class. That calculates the number of seconds you've been alive. And then you can use that to calculate how many seconds,
Oh, damn it.
months, days, and years, and so on. But we'll be doing this in class. Okay, so we'll be tinkering along having that. Okay. All right. Now, what I need to do is, yeah, Vim, if you got it. You don't have to use Vim, but as a sysadmin, yeah, you're going to need to know it. Just because it's on everything. Been around a long time. And I'll move this out of the way. And then participant. Okay. So what you do to get to this screen is you go https://jmkll.org. And then what happens is you get your username. The way your username works, there's a video I showed you how to use this. Use the first part of your myyosemite.email. Okay. So it's your first name and then your 6-digit number. And in my case, it's just Tux.
Is that Coco Melon?
Coco Melon. No. Let's see. Okay. What I'm going to do is Andrew and Gabriel have their microphones open, so I'm going to go ahead and mute them. And pretty soon you'll hear my dogs barking. I heard something outside. And then your default password was in an email, and I frankly forgot what it was. I believe it was Linux Rocks 2020 or something like that. Now, this is what you'll get. This is why I want you to use it, is so we can get to here. Here's your terminal. Ta-da. You do not have to use that. You can actually log in from the command line, and this will work this way on Windows too. So what you would do is you'd log in for the first part of your email address, which would be, I don't know, I'm just faking it here. Okay. And then you would say @ and this actually would log you in, but in my case, it won't because that's not a valid username. And then I put in my password. And now you are, this is where the big money is, command line administration on Linux boxes or Linux shells or so on and so forth. Okay. So either way, how we're going to get it started. And as we go through this, I'll be demoing this and I'll show you how we can make it work in the Jupyter Hub. If you look at your email, way back when, now I'll go log into Canvas and look at one of the announcements because I forgot what I called the password. Maybe I didn't put it out there. Well, maybe I have been known to make mistakes. Okay, let me go fix my problem here. So give me a second. And I will tell you what your default password is. And then we can walk through it together. Whoops. Oh, sorry. Okay. This is what your default password is. I did make it 2021. Okay. All right, copy. I'll go over here, home page, and then I'm going to say new text file. Ta-da. Now you can take a look at this. There's your password. So you type in HTTPS org, and then you log in with the first part of your email address, whatever that is, fname 1 2 3 4 5 6, and then the password is that, and then you get a screen. I'll just call it today. That looks like this. Okay. Now, since I'm doing this as a video, you won't have to worry too much, okay? Because it will show up on the video. So if you forgot your password or you changed your password, all I can do is reset it, okay? I can't physically reissue you a new password. I just reset it to default. Now, this is kind of an old school admin box, kind of back in the day where you would have to call an administrator to set up your password. Since this is a lab machine that is constantly in a state of disrepair, there's a lot of things that don't work as smoothly as they should. For example, resetting your own password. Well, you can do that on just about any website, but not this one because I haven't got that far yet on setting everything up. Okay, so let's start with where we're going to go today. Let's open a terminal here, and I'm going to explain the date command. So here's your date. And then if this is in your test out, and you can use this formatting character that plus in, oh yeah, now let me make it a little bigger so you can see it. Plus sign, which means here's my formats, and give me some different formats. So we can say date. So let's just look at uppercase Y, lowercase y. Okay, so you can kind of see D, so that's the 14th uppercase, puts it that way. So there's all kinds of formatting on this, okay? We are interested in 2, okay? We're going to use date, right, like this, all right? And what we want is the existing format, okay? So what we'll play around with our format. So let's take a look at this. This is called the epoch date. Who remembers from the obscure point in test out what this means? No volunteers, huh? Okay. It's basically the number of seconds since January 1st, 1970. It counts in seconds. Why? Because it's easy to do calendar arithmetic from seconds, okay? All right, back to my terminal here. So now I want to convert, so I have that date. This is what my time is now, okay? So what was my birthday? Well, let's just have some fun with this and say date. Now, I believe it's dash dash date colon equals, and then I believe you put it in parentheses. Let's say I was born on 03 1/4/1990. And then, whoops. I think we leave the 3 off. There we go. There's 1990. Notice it says 000 for the date and time. That's meaning it's assuming it's midnight. You can actually put your birth date in hours and minutes and seconds if you happen to know what it is. I don't. So then I put this together. Oops, percent. So can you kind of see where we're going here? Here is now. Here is birthday. So what do? We want to take these values and do some math on them. So let's take this first one and we will assign it B-Day. All right. Now, review. You can use this. It's hard to see, which is why I don't usually use it. That is a backtick or a grave. It's below your escape key. And it does miserable things. When you go between UTF and ISO 9019, or you're going between language bases, that backtick makes a mess of things like moving your fonts or moving your data from point A to point B if you're working in a multilingual environment. Okay, so I typically use this, and I'm going to use the same type of format, but this does the same thing. All right, so I'll say date is equal to date, and then today. I believe, yeah. And what I say, 1990. Close paren. Oops. I need another. There we go. There we go. So now I can say echo B-Day. Now, why did it do that? You need the dollar in front of it. So echo T-Day. Okay. So you can see I now have a difference between these two numbers of seconds between birthday and today. Okay. And even though the seconds are clicking along, I'm going to leave it as is, okay, in our variable. And now I will show you some ways to do math inside of Bash. We have, this is from K-State. There are, as in with anything in technology, there's always 10 right answers. Which is the correct answer for you at this moment in time depends on the platform in which you are working on or the problem you're trying to solve. Okay. All right. So what we're doing here is we have math in shell scripts. This is one way we declare. And here's expression. This is the old school way. This is the way we used to have to do it. And this expression is actually built into it's an actual command that you use on the command line. So you're calling this external tool called expr, and it does math for you. However, it is limited to integer arithmetic only. When you have to go back and write shell scripts in POSIX compliance, you need this. So you need to know this. This is a more modern way, okay, where it's using let, or just like in the days of basic, let x equal 10, and then you can do something with 10. And this is the quote modern way to do it, okay? This double parens. And this is what we'll be doing. We're going to be doing the double parens to give us our total seconds alive, okay? And then you can do different, notice your exponentiation. What does that look familiar? Python. Yep, Python does that. C++ and C and Excel, they use the caret, okay? So what we want to do now is we're going to use this syntax, the double open close parens here, to do some math. So we have some variables. So let's do it this way. Click, click. And then we say %b day, subtract it from today. Oh no, where'd it go? Where is it? Well, it's actually stored in the environment, but you can't see it. You don't know where it is. So what we need to do is a couple ways we can solve this problem. We'll say I equals. And now if I say echo $I, oops, lowercase I. That's how many seconds I've been alive, okay? All right, so there we go. This is the beginning of how we want to write our script. But there's another problem here. I've got my date and time and birth date, and something else, today's date, birth date. How do I assign? I want this entire thing to go to another variable that's in my current working environment. Let's call it seconds, A-L-I-V-E. Okay, seconds alive is equal to $. Doesn't that look crazy? It is crazy. What am I doing? This is doing math. That's creating the value of I. Okay. And then the outside parens is executing it and saving it into a new variable called seconds alive. Now I have something that's available to me. Okay. So now I have some stuff that I can start to tinker with. And let's see how I want to put this together. Now, I'm obviously going to be moving along at a fairly reasonable clip here, unless you say something. Okay. So what I'm going to do is do history. Since I'm lazy, look at all this stuff. There's all my history commands. So, and the history commands are actually stored in a file called .bash_history. Oh, look, they don't look the same. You're correct. They don't. They will not update until I log out. Okay. So let's do this. History. And I'm going to do tail. And let's see, how many of the lines do I need? Let's go with 69. Let's go from, let's take the last 20 lines. Tail, and we'll say 20. Does that give me what I need? Yeah, it gives me mostly what I need. So I'm going to create a new script and I'm going to simply call it seconds. No, I'll call it days alive, because that's going to be the long-term goal. Days alive. Flip. Now I start editing my script. First thing I need is my bin bash. Give it the name. Okay. What do I need? Well, I need this and this. So let's start with this, D-Day and today. Well, actually, you noticed I declared these wrong. Today should be this way, and B-Day should be that one. Okay. And then I want to calculate it to here. There. And then I can simply say something. I can do something like this. How about echo? You have been alive for I don't need a comma. All I need to do is put the variable in there. And I'll keep this here for the time being and just comment it out since I'm still working on my script. And then this is my notation to say I got to the end of it. Now let's walk through it. Okay, I'm calculating today's day, moment in time in seconds. I'm calculating my birthday or a birthday, and it converts it to second. Then I'm subtracting. Which number is technically bigger? Today. So I should actually subtract the bigger from the little, unless I want to play with negative numbers, which is fine. Now I'm using VI for all of it, okay? So there's my script. Now let me run it, bash days alive. There we go. Isn't that nice? That's how many whole seconds I've been alive. Like, what does that mean to anybody? Nothing really, other than when you keep running it, you can see that it changes. Why? Because time keeps on slipping into the future, just like the rock song. All right, let's go back and edit it. And notice it changes my colors because now it knows it's bash. And I'm going to clean this up because personally, I think that's very difficult to see. And you are probably having trouble seeing this too, okay?
Why are there 3 parentheses around the solve here?
The S live, this last one here?
Yeah.
Okay. I will show you. Insert backtick. See, I missed it. Can you see the backtick? I'm replacing the third parenthesis pair with backticks. Can you see that? Barely. It's really hard to see.
Yeah, okay, so I see.
A little bigger now. See it's there? Okay. Now I'm going to run this. And it gives me a blank. What did I type in wrong? Backtick. Oh, it's because it's not. I need to do this. So I'll show you what I have to do to fix it. Where is I? I'm executing it and it's putting it, oh boy. And I don't want to go down that road. This is gonna be, yeah. So what we'll do is this. And then if I echo $I, I'll show you what's happening here. This is line 7. Yeah. Hold on a second. Little did you know. Okay. I'm doing the math. It's not going to let me do this. I can't assign it to a variable name. I actually have to do it. Did I leave an extra one in there? Maybe that's why. There. Now everything works. Okay. You're going, okay, what did I do here? Now, the third parentheses that goes around this to, here, I'll comment this one out. Is just like the line before it. Go to the shell, run this, bring back the result, store it in T-Day. Take this, store it in B-Date. Keeping it consistently logical, run this and store it into this date. The advantage this brings to you is in those obscure troubleshooting cases, because when we are doing it this way, it's actually in a different environment, memory, space. If you can think of Python and namespaces, this is actually in a different little place that if I was calling this, let's say I call this to call something else. So let's say this is I have a bash shell that calls another bash shell that calls my days alive. This syntax is going to get lost because it's at a different level of shell than the previous one. And for a quick review, if I type in bash echo $sh level, I am at the third level. Type in exit, echo $shell level. I'm now back at the second level. Now, if I try to echo $tday, not there, because I'm at another shell level. So now if I do this, it's there. Okay. I don't need to exit. I just need to show it to you. Okay. So the third parentheses is what I would say optional. You don't have to do it this way. You can do it either way. I prefer, because of the debugging issues you run into, is to keep it all at the same shell level. Because when your shell scripts start calling shell scripts, you want your variables to expand. Say I've got a shell script that calls two other shell scripts, and I don't want the variable from my top shell script to expand until it gets to level 2 and level 3, and then I want it to expand in level 4. Yeah, it gets really gnarly, and that's when we start moving to Python and Corn Shell or Lua and Perl and these other tools that kind of solve this problem. Okay, so what's interesting is that this has been around forever, and then Python didn't use it for years, and then they were around, I don't know what version it was, but then Python rediscovered namespaces and said, oh, let's do it. We have namespaces in Bash, but they are not, you don't really know where they are because they're not explicitly defined. So you just kind of have to know where you are to poke into the memory at the right level. Think of a pointer to a pointer to a pointer. Okay. All right. So if I've got this many seconds alive, how do I get days? Quick. How many seconds in a day? Quick. Google it. Tell me. A lot. Okay.
Looks like 86,400.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't remember if it was 84 or 86. Thank you. Okay, that's how many seconds I want. So now I want to do some more math, right? So now I'm going to create a new variable called days alive. And keeping it with the same level of things. Okay, I'm going to use the same syntax as previously. So I'm going to create an executable and return the math of it to save in days alive. So what do I want to do? I want to do another math statement. And I want to take seconds alive and divide by kind of makes sense what we got so far? All right, let's see what happens. Let's see what blows up. Oops, blank. Why is it blank? Let's go figure this out. Debugging. There's a couple ways to do debugging. You can actually put in minus XV. Okay, I see my problem. I'll fix it in a second. But now when I run it, well, it's because I'm not reading any variables. That XV is the debug script. That's how you put it into debug. Since I'm not doing any read commands, which we'll do in a minute. Okay. The reason I'm having issues is the space. Doesn't quite know what to do with that. All right. Now we're going to get into some fun stuff here. I want to do one of these. Just one. I want you to think about this. You've been alive for that many seconds, that many days. But let's make this correct. Because notice I'm taking the total seconds that I've been alive and the total days I've been alive. Okay. This is not technically accurate because I'm using the total number of seconds to calculate days. What I should do is calculate the number of days I've been alive and then use the remainder for I've been alive this many days and this many seconds. Does that make sense? Kind of, sort of? Maybe not.
So you calculate the days so you don't have a whole bunch of leftover seconds in the days, so you don't have a huge decimal point.
Yeah, basically we are going to use a kludge that comes in really handy. We're going to use modulo. So if we take days alive, so let's take our seconds alive. We know that works, so let's save this off. And I'm just going to put it down here, comment it out. And the same thing here. I'll come back to this one. Let's talk about this. So this is days alive. Okay, this is the whole number of days. But I need something left over. So what I'll call it RS, as in remainder seconds alive. Okay, is equal to dollar bum 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 seconds alive. Nope. Dollar D alive. So I want to take the number of days and then do modulo on it with the same number. 1, 2, 3. And now let's echo, you have been alive this many whole days. So we'll just put that together like this, using a very bad nomenclature here. Whole days, and we'll say remainder seconds. Okay, and that will be RS. Now I use upcase. You don't have to use upcase. It's just that so many systems I've worked on over the years, when you write shell code, you just make your variables upcase because then it's easy to see. Okay. All right. So let's see what happens. Yes.
Remove the seconds alive variable when you put the hashtag down there?
Oh yeah, I should probably do that. Or you're gonna give me an error. There we go. All right. So today, B-day, and then remainder day, remainder second. So it's going to say whole days and the remainder seconds. Let's see how that looks. Oops. Gave me an error. Okay, what am I doing here? Oh, I need to equal it something. Let's go I equal to this. Oops. So I need the total numbers, 84 to my total number of seconds. I should have saved that. I need this one. Total summer seconds alive. And it gives me days alive. That was what you were saying. Thank you. I still need this one. Don't need this yet. Okay. So this is from there. So I'm taking total number of seconds, dividing it by days, gives me days alive. And then I'm taking my days alive. No, I should use the same variable. Never mind. All right. And then that will give me the remainder of those. Okay. Now that should give me something. Oh, come on, fingers. There we go. Okay. So I've been alive 11,000 days and 39,000 seconds. Does that sound about right? Well, yeah, close, because there's 86,000 seconds in a day. So that would be the left, that'd be part of the day I'm alive. Okay. This little technique of using modulo. Now, the way modulo is described in textbooks, I have found to be extremely confusing. I want you to take the calendar year, 365 days. Okay. And if you did a modulo 7 against it, you're going to get a number between 1 and 7. So pick any number, and I'll just do this from the command line so we can show it to you. So, and I'll use another tool that will kind of give you a that we'll get into today, BC, which is called binary calculator. And you usually need to set scale equal to 10 because BC does some phenomenal floating point. So if you need floating point, this is the tool to use. Okay. So if I take 365 and mod 7 it gives me this funny 0.04. Oh no, what does this mean? So let's change the scale back to 0. So it gives me 1. And if I say, let's take day 123 into the year, mod 7, it's day 4. So what you end up with is this modulo calculating days of week represented by numbers. That is a practical application of modulo. Takes a big number and puts it into buckets. So I've got a number and I'm going to put it into, in this case, mod 7, 1 of 7 buckets. Okay, that's all it does. Okay, so modulo is kind of like remainder, but not. It's not a true remainder. Okay, and because it's working off integers. So what we're saying here is how many buckets of 8,000 or 86,400 seconds do I have? I have 11,000 something buckets. And then I have some leftover seconds. How do I find my leftover out of my whole number of seconds? Use modulo. So I will leave it to you, gentle reader, as they say, to figure out how many weeks you've been alive, how many months, how many years. Okay, so let's throw one in here just for fun. How many seconds are in a year? Quick. This is kind of a trick question, but not really. Let's rephrase that. How many seconds are in a calendar year? And
31,536,000.
all right, 31,536,000. All right, now here's some dirty little secret. Back in the day, before they had floating point working everywhere, your payroll was calculated on 360 days a year. Why? Because they didn't have the computational horsepower to figure it out. So a lot of financial calculations use 30 days per month with 360 days a year. Now, this is for calculating amortization and other sorts of things. You don't have to really worry about it unless you're going to write a new library on amortization, okay? So for the most part, don't worry too much about that little piece of trivia, but realize that when you start looking at some of the deep calculations in the financial sector, you're going, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. And then you drill down on it, you're going, oh, because doing calendar arithmetic brings up a whole nother library that is actually built into Bash. You lucky dogs. Doing calendar, like days between two dates, that's a library you bring into Python. You can calculate number of days between two dates. And it takes care of leap year and the weird year in the 1400s where there was only 10 months or something. Okay, I don't remember. All right, so let's figure out our years alive. And what we'll be doing is we'll be doing the same thing, right? So we take the number of seconds alive and we are going to divide it by that one gnarly number, Now, if you've got some coding chops in your background, you can kind of see where we're headed with this. Okay. And then we'll do the same thing. And then we have remainder year alive. Okay. With the modulo. But wait. Now that I have a modulo on remainder year alive, guess what? I got to use RY live. Well, it should say alive to be consistent. Okay. Remainder year alive is my modulo of leftover seconds of the number of year. Okay. So let's have some fun just walking through this and doing more math here. Let's take 2YY uppercase P, and we'll make this YA alive and years remainder. And oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to take these two. All right. Years. And whole years is YA. Okay. And remainder would be our Y alive. Years. And then remainder years. Okay. So previous ones are the same. So what I'm going to do now is kind of run this and see what we come up with. I'm looking at it briefly here to see if I made any blunders like YA alive. Okay. All right. Okay. Whoa, something not quite right there. I don't think I'm 320 years old, nor do I think I have I go, wait a minute, what am I doing here? So the number of seconds in a year is giving me, did I type in that number right? The number of seconds. It shouldn't be that big. Well, the other way to do it is I can actually do this. I could take the constant. See, this is where I would take 360 times 86,400. Calculate that first. And that would give me, let's see if my YA alive changes by doing this. Yeah, it looks a little better, doesn't it? So there was I think I got one too many zeros in my number. 56, 31.
You're missing a 0, I think.
Missing a 0. There we go. Let's hear it for typos. Okay, 315, 36000. There, that should look a little better. Just like you said.
You're missing 1 0.
Okay. Oh, on the second one. There. So, number of years left over. So 32 years, that's about right. But number of years left over looks funny. So let's take a look at it. Oh, So I've got here. It should be, oh, wait a minute. It's not years alive. So whole years. Let me change this. You have been aligned remainder. There. Now we're getting somewhere. So I have been alive for 32 years, whole years, with a remainder of this many seconds, which I then need to divide by number of days. Okay. So this should actually be remainder year seconds if I wanted to be accurate about it. And then days, I want this value. Okay. So what I'm doing is taking total number of seconds, dividing it by years to get whole years. Then I have remainder seconds. Then I divide it by days to get whole days. And then I take the leftover and say, that's the number of seconds. Okay. So let's make this been alive for expiry days and second. There you go. You now have a way to calculate how many years you've been alive, days. Now, I'll leave it to you to add month and year or month and week. You've been alive 30, well, in this case, it looks pretty easy. 32 years, 8 days, 9 seconds. Now, why does it say 8 days when I said the 14th in 1990 and it's the 14th in 2021? Shouldn't that be an even 32 year? No, because we're counting the number of seconds. And where the calendar falls into relation of seconds is an approximation. Okay, so this is not perfect. Okay, if you want perfect, you need the calendar date libraries. Okay, and that works, that calculates everything. Now, why would you use something like this if it's not accurate? Logging. Because you can use this to create a log file, and then you create the number of seconds in the name, use this syntax to create a file name with that .s or the %s. And now you have a log file that you can now get pretty granular on. It's down to 1 second. Now, for grins and giggles, I do want to show you this on the date command. What's that? That, my friends, is seconds and nanoseconds. And the way it works is the dot nanoseconds is from midnight last night. Seconds is from January 1st, 1970. So you can get extremely granular on your logging. Now, why is this important? Database transactions. You're dealing with 6,000 transactions per second. You need to be able to put that together and say, okay, we don't want the transactions to trounce on each other. And you can use the date time built in to do this, okay? All right, so That I will probably forget to put in the notes. So I'm going to go put that in today right here. Okay. So this is seconds and then nanoseconds. From midnight previous day. Or the same day, I guess, from midnight. I'll just leave it at that, midnight. All right. And then I'll put the dot right there. Okay. So let's take a look at this again and walk through it. So what we did is we played around with some date commands and we got some dates and we calculated the total number of seconds using one style of math using the double parentheses. This is how you do math in Bash. This is the easy way to do math in Bash. Okay. Then we can do then we calculated how many whole years were alive and we took the leftover seconds and then calculated whole days out of leftover second. So let's add some comments. Whole days, leftover seconds. I'm using leftover on purpose because remainder is not a perfect definition here because we're using integer arithmetic, and modulo with integer arithmetic only results in whole numbers. Leftover seconds. And then down here, we say whole days from leftover seconds. And then down here, we just say leftover seconds. We want to be technical about it, but this is good enough. And I will post this with the notes, okay? And what I want to do now is kind of, now that we did something with math, you can actually see success or failure with a little bit of math. There's one thing I want to show you is this bday command. I want to change this to a read. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to tell somebody to say, echo, do not put a carriage return, enter your Earth Day as DDCCYY, and then give them a prompt so they can see it. So they actually have to type it in as MMDDCY or it won't work, okay? And then what we do now, whoops, I don't want to call it B-Day. We'll call it G for get day. Good day. Now that looks like it should work, right? Well, let's see what happens. First things first is let's use the same date and time, okay? Run it. So I want 03 1/4/1990. Get the same numbers. Yay, it works. So now I can put in other dates and have some fun with it. let's go with 0, 3, 14 and go 1950. So it even works with negative dates, because if you go and you display a date that is older than January 1st, 1970, that is a negative date. So let me show you what I'm talking about, history. So I want 574. Okay, so let's go bang 574. I have an error, but that's okay. Get rid of this and put in 1960. And then echo $T-Day. It's a negative number. So when you take a negative number and subtract a negative number, it makes the negative number bigger. So that's why it says 72 years. Okay. So this little script we did will work for old people. Okay. So it will work no matter what your date and time is. So let's say we're somebody, let's say 01, and we'll say 1950. So 20 years before Linux was born. Okay, that's pretty close to what I typed in. Okay, let's give them, yeah, you get the idea. Okay, so if we look at the script now, this will work for all sorts of things. So leave it to you to figure out months and weeks. It is a fun exercise because this drives home the beauty and simplicity of using divide and modulo on integer arithmetic to get useful calculations. This technique has saved me some headaches rather than using floating point. If you're dealing with integers for the most part, it's just a lot easier to work with it in integers. You can use these arithmetic tricks all over in the world of computing and save yourself a lot of horsepower and headaches. Okay. All right. So last few minutes of class here, I want to show you these links. I'll put these in the notes as well. The BC command is worth your time. BC command will convert binary, decimal, hexadecimal. It has extremely powerful floating point. It does all sorts of really trippy things. It's a handy little tool. And if you remember the days of the 3Com Pilot or the Palm Pilot, they had this little app called MathPad. And this little MathPad app was the cat's meow when it came to doing math. Well, it was nothing more than a rewrite of the BC command to run on the Palm. Okay, here's a link that explains the different, this is the expression arithmetic, the old school way. And then this shows you all three versions of, and then if you want to get really gnarly, you look into these scripts and how do you calculate arrays and do math on arrays? Do matrix multiplication in Bash. How's that sound like something to blow your brain? Yeah, you can do it. Pretty powerful. Okay. So that's kind of where we did today. And I didn't get to functions. Darn. How long have I got? I got 30 seconds. Well, I'll show you functions. I can do that. This is pretty fast. This is not difficult. Today, now, they don't work, but I'm going to change to a user. How'd that work? It works for this user, but not the other user. What does it do? I have a list of functions that are in a file called .funcf, funcs. And I have one called today. And this actually makes a command today that I can use in shell scripts. So what have I got here? I've got this trippy one called clipboard that allows me to copy, cut, and paste as long as I have xterm running. And I have a couple of functions that give me a header and footer for my lovely things. If I want to create a web page, I can say W header, date, W footer, and create a web page. And just put it somewhere on the web. Okay. Boom, done. Now, how do I implement this? If I want it available to me all the time, I just put it in here. If the file exists, then source.funcs. Okay. That's what this is. If file exists, that's what this is. This is a test command that you could change that open paren, open bracket to say test. And if it's there, then do this dot, which means source it. Okay. So I'll show you what that means in our rounding 2 seconds here. I'm going to take 3 lines, 3 YYP, change word now. And what I want to do is put in $hour, whoops, not dollar, percent hour, percent minute, percent second. Now, if I want to, I could put nanoseconds in there, which I really don't want. So if I type in now, it doesn't work. But if I type in dot space dot funcs, now it does. What did I just do? Dot is the same thing as typing in the word source. Okay. So if you make a change in your .bashrc or your .funcs file, you need to resource it. And that's what they mean. So you see both. The dot you will see more frequently just because it's less characters to type. So now I can type in today and then now, and then I can type in W header. See where that goes? So let's do this. Put this into junk.html. And then type in now. And I'll append it to junk HTML. Now I'll put the footer into junk HTML. And do W3 or elinks, W3, whatever, W3M junk HTML. There's my web page. Not much in it. So there's my web page. And it's just using the pre-tag in there so I can put raw text on the web page. That was a lot of information in one day. And I would say anywhere from 70% is not in test out. This is real world stuff. This is bash programming and maintenance and how to write shell scripts. Because when we teach the class in the classroom, I give everybody shell scripting in addition to do studying up for test out, because if you say you know Linux, you're gonna kind of have to know how to do a little bit in shell. Okay, just like, yeah, I'm a Windows server guy. Well, do you know PowerShell? No. Oh, really? So same thing. PowerShell helps you admin hundreds of boxes. Same with Bash. So on that note, that's where today is over. And I will be online for office hours today. So I'll be on Slack. So feel free to ping in and say hi, or say, hey, what you said today totally lost me. Work with me. I'll do that too. Okay. So I'll add these notes, and then when the Zoom recording finishes, I will post it. So I'm going to turn off stop recording.